What's going on? It's Jeff Newport from ChasingStrength.com. And in today's video, we are going to answer the question, do kettlebells work the legs? We're also going to answer the other question that goes along with it, which is, do you need more leg work in your kettlebell workouts? So this is a question that comes up frequently, especially if you are used to traditional bodybuilding style workouts, or maybe you did strength and conditioning work on a team in college. And, you're used to doing leg extensions, leg curls, leg press, squats, that sort of thing. So I frequently get this question. I'm going to share a question that I got from one of my customers, Isaac. And in this email, Isaac asked me, he said, hey, I've been working with KSK, which is King Size Killer, and the Giant, which is both of those are programs that are primarily posterior chain dominant, okay, to great effect. But I can't help but think that I'm neglecting the legs. Are there any recommendations that you would have for incorporating work for the lower half of the body? So as I mentioned, this is really a common question for those of us who have an athletic background, a power lifting background, a weightlifting background, right? Those of us who have bodybuilding backgrounds, and we've made the transition for whatever reason over into kettlebell work. Most kettlebell work tends to focus on the posterior chain, as I mentioned earlier, which is the backside of the body, right? The muscles you can't see in the mirror. So technically the posterior chain is from the base of your skull down to the tips of your toes. But the emphasis when most people talk about posterior chain is the lower back, the hips, meaning the glutes, the hamstrings, and your calves. All right. So that's the posterior chain. And most kettlebell workouts focus on these muscle groups. So exercises like swings, cleans, snatches, right? Those are primarily the big three kettlebell ballistic exercises that most people think of. That's what typical kettlebell workouts work. But what most people fail to realize is that their quads are actually working too, because when you do that hip hinge movement, your knees actually have to bend. Okay, so they bend to about 30 degrees, thereabouts, plus or minus. Look, please don't leave a comment saying that you measured your knee angle with a protractor and it was greater than 45 degrees and it was 67 degrees. That's great. And please don't leave me a comment that says it should only be 90 degrees and not less than 45 degrees or not greater than 120 degrees or any of that stuff. All right, we all have different joint angles, so our knees are all going to bend, all right, a little more or a little less compared to somebody else's. All right. So let me just get that out of the way. So back to the matter at hand. When you hinge into your hips, your knees bend, and you have a little muscle on the inside of your knee that looks like a teardrop. It's called the vastus medialis, right? And that muscle gets a lot of the work when you are doing posterior chain dominant exercises. So technically you are working your quads. You are also working the other muscles of your quads, but primarily that little muscle gets a lot of work. And quite frankly, that's super important because that vastus medialis, that teardrop, is your body's last line of defense in preventing a knee injury, a catastrophic knee injury like an ACL tear. All right. So let's not discount the importance of that shallow knee bend in the hip hinge. So technically and theoretically, because you're bending and straightening your legs, you are working your entire quadriceps muscles. All right. Now, let's dig a little deeper here. What Isaac is really saying and what other people are saying with these types of questions is, should I be doing more and or how can I be doing more? And the answer to the question, should I be doing more, is it's really up to you and what you want out of your kettlebell training. Like, what are your goals, right? If you want to build huge quads, then kettlebell work's probably not for you. Although double kettlebell front squats will put an exceptional amount of meat on your legs, especially when done for a large amount of volume. The beauty of the double kettlebell front squat is it is incredibly hard, but you don't have to go excessively heavy. So that means there's less wear and tear on your joints, especially if your joints aren't working well and your body's not working well, than there would be using a heavy loaded implement like a barbell or loading up on like the hack squat machine or something like that. All right. So if you want big legs, and you want to use kettlebells, that would be a way to do it. You could also use just some higher rep goblet squats in the 10 to 20 range, or you could use the good old fashioned hack squat where you hold the kettlebell by the handle behind the body. All right. That thing is just brutal. Most guys can't do it with an 88-pound kettlebell or a 40-pound kettlebell. So if you're going to do it, start light. All right. And you probably need healthy knees in order to use the hack squat. So let's rewind that a little bit. The most accessible way to build your quads or work your legs more using our famous air quotes is higher rep goblet squats followed by double kettlebell front squats, preferably done for a high volume of work. So what do you mean by high volume of work? I mean, probably work up to about 50 or 60 reps in a training session. So looking at 10 sets of 5, 10 sets of 6. And if you can do that with a pair of 32s, you've got some pretty strong legs and you'll probably have some pretty big quads. And if you want a goal to shoot for, right, hit multiple sets of 20 with a pair of 32s. I don't recommend that really, because that's just brutal on every part of your body. Or you could do the old 10 sets of 5 with a pair of 48s in the rack. And that striving for those goals should keep you busy for a little while. All right. So if you want a step-by-step program built around the front squat, which is what I recommend you actually do if you want to focus on building your legs, is build your program around your front squat, then you can use the strong program. A lot of guys, it's designed for the clean and press, but a lot of guys have used it for the double kettlebell front squat. I'll leave a link to this program and the other 2 programs below this video if you want to check it out, if you want to check them out. In the meantime, just remember, kettlebell workouts do work your legs, but the bias is on the posterior chain. So if you want more than a bias on your posterior chain, right, then you need to add in some knee dominant exercises like the squats that we mentioned. All right. Hopefully you found that helpful. I will talk to you soon, my friend. Until then, stay strong.